Welcome to the County Business Talks podcast. I'm going to be your host, Sam Thomas. Here I'm going to be talking with a variety of business owners and entrepreneurs from across Sussex, discussing their business journey and delving into the mindsets and really what makes them tick. So today is the first episode. I'm really excited and delighted to be joined by a really good friend of mine, business owner, founder of the networking events company, Network My Club. So want to welcome Brad to the podcast.
Thanks very much for having me, Sam.
Cool. Brad, how you doing, mate?
Yeah, can't complain. A lot better than I was sort of about a year ago, about 6 months ago. But yeah, all good. Good,
mate. Great to listen. I'm really chuffy. Obviously, I've spoke to you about the podcast and what I wanted to sort of try and achieve, and I'm over the moon that you're obviously the first guest on here. And look, mate, let's why don't we just jump straight in? Like I say, just tell the listeners a little bit about obviously your business journey and a bit about you.
Yeah, I mean, firstly, a bit about the business journey, and I mean, I started Network My Club about 6 years ago now. My background had been working in the commercial team at Brighton and Hove Albion. I spent 4 years working at the Amex there, and one thing that I learned working there was we had a really good facility in the Amex stadium, and we had a really good network of connections, and we used the stadium to bring those connections together. And it wasn't being done anywhere else. There was a lot of clubs that weren't doing that. There was a lot of venues, stadiums specifically, that weren't using their stadium to bring people together outside of their main use, which was either football, cricket, or rugby. So the idea of Network My Club came about, and to effectively facilitate that is to go to sports stadiums up and down the country. That's the sort of long-term game, but it's all about bringing businesses together to network first and foremost, but using some really cool venues, some iconic and prestigious venues to do that at. And that's the long and short of my story in terms of how I got to where I am. But I've always enjoyed sport. I've always wanted to be involved in sport in one way, shape or form. And, you know, just being able to host our events and bring businesses together at these stadiums is good enough for me when it comes to being associated with sport, really.
So what advice would you give to sort of a young entrepreneur or business owner, someone looking, obviously as a youngster, 24 when you started your business? You know, I mean, what advice would you give to a young business thinking about maybe starting their own business, and what sort of advice would you give?
Yeah, I'd say don't worry about it being perfect. Too many people worry about getting the right product, the right service for the right time, and just waiting for everything to align. And there never is a right time. Never is a perfect moment. And, you know, people are trying to get their businesses perfect before they've even launched. And then once you've launched, that's the hard part. You know, it's not getting it to the point where you can launch. So don't worry about it being perfect. Get it to the point where you can generate your first sale, your first pound. And then the next step, my next piece of advice would be to look after those first customers that you get, those first people that invest in what you do and purchase what you do. They are the most crucial people that you'll come across, and there's something that I didn't do well enough that I've learned from hugely. You know, when I first started the business, I was going out. We started in Portsmouth, as we said. So I was going out into the Portsmouth business community, trying to sell the membership, getting people in. Great, got a few people in, and then I was feeding in the pipeline, feeding in the top as quickly as people were falling out the bottom, just through not giving them the experience that I was telling them that they were going to get. And we were putting on some good events, but all the other bits that we were saying, you know, wasn't as good as they thought. So, you know, we'd learned from that. We've now got a really stringent onboarding process that Claudia manages. So anyone that joins Network My Club now, you know, gets onboarded well. We understand why they're here. We feed all that information around the team, so we know, right, so-and-so has joined, they do this, they do that, they're looking to meet these types of people in these sort of businesses, and we just build a picture. So we look after them and we try and help them. So that there's sort of two key things for me is don't worry about it being perfect first up, and then those first customers will, if you can look after them, they'll be your longest standing customers, but they'll be your biggest advocates. And because at that time in your business, it doesn't feel like it, but you've got more time to be able to look after them. And I think that particularly when you're starting out, that's another point. You've got a lot more time than you think. I wish I had a bit more time in the day these days that I did probably 3, 4, 5 years ago, but it's the nature of the beast. So don't worry about it being perfect. Look after those first customers and make the most of all the time you've got early on.
I echo that. We do. You end up when you're right involved in it, and it's started to get to that point. You feel like sometimes spinning plates, and you got a lot going on, and you, like you say, you long for them times of a little bit more of a few more hours in a day. But I'm with you. And the other one I've got. Can you give me 3 traits that you think a person needs to be a good businessman or business person or entrepreneur? What just 3 key traits that you sort of would look for?
Yeah, I think one is empathy. We spoke about earlier. I think as a leader, you need that empathy for managing your team. I think also having that empathy when speaking to clients and speaking to your partners and those sort of things. I think you've got to have that empathy. Discipline. I mean, it's kind of a prerequisite when you're starting a business. It doesn't, unless you're disciplined, it's not really going to work. But you have to be disciplined. I mean, for anyone starting a business and anyone looking to succeed, even if they're in a full-time position in a company, you have to be disciplined in what you do. So having that discipline is crucial. And with discipline comes sacrifice, unfortunately, which some people can't live with, but it is the way that it's what you have to sacrifice to be successful. In my case, when I started the business, my sacrifice was moving out when all my mates were moving out and moving into London and things like that. I wanted to still be able to go out with my friends and socialize. So I sacrificed not buying lots of new clothes like I probably used to. I sacrificed not moving out, as I say, and just living. Probably I was the last out of all my friends to move out of home, and that's just one of the many sacrifices that you have to give. So discipline that comes with that sacrifice. And then lastly, I think just being a good person, just be a nice person. And I see it a lot, but I still don't see it enough. People, I don't care if I meet the CEO of a blue chip company or the cleaner at a stadium that we work in. I'm going to treat them exactly the same. And it's just an easy thing to do. You can manage that so easily, and just be a good person. People remember how you make them feel. And if that's meeting someone and just saying hello to them and how they're doing, passing in a corridor or at an event or something like that, the amount of times, you hear people say, oh, that person's not very nice. He or she is a little bit cold or something like that. And I appreciate people can have bad days, of course, but just try and be a nice person. Just be a good person. That's I think for anyone making it, wanting to get anywhere, it's going to get you further than being a bad person. That's for sure.
Oh, mate, look, I completely agree with you on that. Definitely, and it's strange, isn't it? Because you sort of there's a little bit out there of people you do sort of listen to, and people go, to be successful in business, you've got to be this ruthless type of person. I just don't buy into that personally. I don't think
No.
I think you can succeed and be successful and just by being a good person, and like you say, some of them other traits that you've obviously alluded to. So, mate, listen, great advice, and what can I say? It's always a pleasure to catch up with you. Like I said, we've worked together on a couple of things, and you've become really good friends, and as well as you really do inspire me, mate, with the stuff you've done and achieved. And I'm delighted to have you as the first guest on our podcast. So it's been great catching up, mate. So thanks for your time, and well done, mate. Cheers. Wish you every success.
Thank you very much. Thanks for the invite, mate.
Cool. Good times.